Stay down, man. Sam, he's got a knife! Sam!
I can see that. We have a knife too.
Ow! You stabbed him! You trying to piss him off? Okay. All right, so what's the plan? What are we doing? Stop him!
The fight scenes in this movie are just delightful, and I wasn't sure exactly why at first. Without giving too much away, this movie is about a guy who gets physically upgraded with an artificial intelligence which, upon his command, can completely take over each and every muscle fiber in his body and automatically turn him into the most efficient, most precise, most dangerous man alive. It's a fun concept, and this actor pulls off the physical work beautifully. He really sells the idea that his body is suddenly taken over by a completely different intelligence. And of course, the crazy camera work that's locked onto him is helping a lot. But there's something else at work here. I would argue that some people connect with these scenes and are delighted by them for reasons which dig deeper than physiology and even traditional psychology, reasons which slip into the paranormal. Hello, I am Ian, and today we're digging into the zen behind the 2018 cyberpunk action movie Upgrade. So get comfortable, smoke 'em if you got 'em, and get ready for today's episode of Conscious Migration. Ever since my very first episode, we've been analyzing the deeper themes in all the narratives we're exposed to, in our movies and all of our media at large. And lately we've been exploring how sometimes a very specific scene or characteristic from a movie connects with us in some unusual manner, where we feel some element has really managed to trigger a deeper response within us, something primal and ancient. That is, assuming that the director was totally conscious of what they were putting on film to begin with, and why it worked. As a side note, I go into a whole diatribe in Migration about how I'm personally convinced that Peter Jackson didn't really understand the deepest reasons as to why his original trilogy, Lord of the Rings, worked with audiences on a really primal level. And if he did, he demonstrated none of that awareness in the Hobbit trilogy. So, I'm finding personally, when I really analyze the scene in question and why it's sticking with me long after the movie is over, I find it's reflecting a deep truth about who we are as human animals on this planet, as well as what we are as conscious beings living in this confusing shared reality, wearing these human costumes, if you will. The scene that we're looking at right here is when our hero, Gray Trace, played brilliantly by Logan Marshall Green, first gives the artificial intelligence he's been upgraded with the necessary verbal permission to take over his body. And at this point, he's in the middle of being attacked by hitmen who were sent to kill him, and he's about to lose the fight and about to be executed. It's a great scene. Check it out.
Why are you making me do this?
Let me know if you need my help, Gray.
Stop! Help!
I need your permission to operate independently.
Permission granted!
Thank you.
This is so much fun. So what's really going on here? We have a regular guy who's about to be murdered, suddenly taken over by a completely different intelligence, which turns his body into a highly efficient killing machine. Why do some of us love the way these fight scenes play out in this movie? Specifically, I'm asking, why do so many viewers like the way these scenes make them feel? Now, it's not that he suddenly, just turns into a superhero, right? We've seen that thousands of times in movies and TV shows, where a character suddenly becomes invincible, super powerful after taking some magic potion or saying some magic words or eating the spinach or getting angry or whatever. No, what makes this scene stand apart from all those worn out tricks is the disconnect on display here. He has no choice but to observe, comically, I might add, as he loses total control of his body over to something much more powerful than he is alone. These scenes are delightful for a lot of rather visceral reasons. But what makes this really stand out from the rest is it's a great illustration of how consciousness and the physical body can work independently of one another. They have a relationship, yes, but they are not one and the same. We are a consciousness observing the material world through the body, and this points to a very real, generally hidden truth about our predicament as human beings. In my other videos, I've described walking meditations you personally can practice where you allow your consciousness to fall back and surrender into its natural state, where it's a simple observer. When you stop all of the internal doing and the planning and the imagining, you can passively watch the moment play out. In that state of awareness, you can literally watch the body go about its business. And it's abundantly clear from that perspective that we are not the body. We're something beyond the physical, which can totally remove itself from all the goings-on with the body. Personally, I've been realizing more and more lately that I'm in the process, where I'm working on this stage in my personal development along this path of conscious enlightenment, where I'm beginning to view my own body much more in terms of a tool that I'm using instead of taking my body so personally. We're piloting a suit made out of meat, if you will, and at least in my case, I know this awareness is the result of years of meditation and direct experience with the out-of-body state. When you personally know for a fact, for yourself, that what you are is ultimately beyond the physical, when you've seen that firsthand, the relationship you carry out with the body is naturally going to evolve. You'll see it more in terms of a tool instead. Very much like what you see on display here in this movie Upgrade. That might sound cold to some people, really impersonal. And here's the thing, it is. It rightly should be impersonal to some extent. But that isn't ultimately a revelation that leaves you cold. Rather, it leaves you more fulfilled. Why? Because we're aligning ourselves with the truth that we are not this dense matter. And the more you align yourself with the truth, there's a bliss that arises with that. It's a very freeing sensation. You move your attention further away from the material world where there's duality and pain and drama and on, and you instead move it toward the truth that you are bigger than all of this. That's hardly cold. We're all on this path of realizing that we aren't the body, and the longer you follow the path, you're eventually going to notice that you're also walking around in really outdated hardware. These elegant, highly complex physical forms of ours are also in so many ways really blunt instruments. The more you see the body as a tool, you'll begin to see not just what an incredibly amazing machine it is, a machine the most brilliant minds on the planet could not begin to replicate, with all the resources at their disposal, but you'll also see that it's the end result of what nature has learned is the best current machine that manages to survive long enough to reproduce. So in many ways, the technology we're in is insanely sophisticated, but it's all designed to achieve a fairly simple goal: survive long enough to pass along your genes. Our bodies are the most advanced blunt instruments we know of, literally. So far, we know of no other living structure more complex than the human brain. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. But on a base instinctual level, ethics and morality don't always factor into it. The longer I live with this physical form, the deeper my realization grows that the machine I'm piloting has all kinds of built-in software that releases quiet but very powerful chemical messages which reflect the machinations of a tool that is built to survive at all means necessary and to reproduce. Let me say that again, by all means necessary. Now, of course, our modern thinking is a little more nuanced, or should I say we hope it is. Society doesn't work if all we're doing is acting out all of the body's primal instincts. But as creatures who, in a very short amount of time, have completely reshaped the surface of this planet and attempted to create a social order on a scale and complexity unlike anything any other creature has attempted, we often don't appreciate how our sciences, our philosophies, and all of our best intentions, they might all be directed at achieving the highest peace and the highest state of enlightenment for all sentient creatures. However, the machines we're walking around with are equipped with all these kinds of instincts that in many cases are violently opposed to all of our best intentions. That's why we're the most schizophrenic of all of the species. Other creatures must look at it like, they look at us like we must be mad, right? Because when the wolf is hungry, it's not going to hesitate to devour what we would deem the cutest, fluffiest baby bunny we've ever seen. It doesn't have a conflict with that. And there are far too many examples of behavior in wild animals that we, as civilized creatures, would find terrifyingly immoral. Go Google what dolphins do for fun, for instance. Often, but not always, our primal nature is in direct conflict with what is good for the whole. That is why we have to consciously rise above the body's chemical instincts. Only when you begin to transcend the boundaries of the physical can you look at those baser instructions and simply realize that it's not you. You're not the body. You're the consciousness observing these messages from the body, and you simply aren't obligated to obediently follow all of its instructions. Those who ultimately believe they're nothing but the body are in so many ways far more trapped by all its machinations, and they often will appear very unevolved to those of us who have achieved some liberation from the physical body, either spiritually or creatively or intellectually or all of the above. Being highly creative or even just deeply curious about the world can alone help broaden your awareness beyond the limited realm of the physical body. Those who have not or cannot do that, they feel trapped by the body. They live in a state of imprisonment. And far too often, we see that particular brand of suffering express itself as a desire to control the bodies of others, the very lives of others, the suffering of others. If I can't control my own body, my own base instincts, then maybe I can indulge in the fantasy that I can control what happens with other people's bodies. So yeah, we live in a world where our relationship with our own physical form can be the source of incredible stress and anxiety and pain. And here comes a little reminder, like this movie in its own small, weird way, that we aren't ultimately the physical body. We are that which is merely observing the play of life through the senses of the body. And each and every one of us knows this on one level or another. Okay, so that wraps up today's episode. As always, if you have comments or questions, throw them in the comments section below and I will reply to you eventually. Just be patient. I'm always juggling a lot of projects. Speaking of which, for those of you who are my art fans out there, make sure you check out my current collection of original fine art at my Etsy gallery. I'll drop a link below. I still have several great pieces in my gallery, which I think are sold for really low prices, so check that all out. And if you like off the beaten path discussions like this, please like and subscribe to me. It really doesn't cost you anything. It really does boost my ranking here, so my little channel might swim a little bit, above the bigger clickbait out there. So until next time, everyone, peace and love. See you soon. Bye-bye.